Okay. Good evening and buenas noches a todos. Thank you everyone who is tuning in and watching our videos. We, as members of the Houston ISD elected Board of Trustees, are meeting with the goal of sharing our experiences and expertise through our questions on this month's Progress Monitoring Report, which is October's report that is on Thursday's Board of Managers agenda. The primary role of a school board is ensuring that student outcome goals are the top priority, and only by regularly looking at and tracking progress on what students know and can do we know if our schools are effectively preparing them for are effectively preparing our students for the choice-filled lives that we as a community envision for them. And to ensure a student outcome focus, we know from our training and from research that school boards should spend at least 50% of their monthly meeting time on monitoring how students are performing. So we will use this forum to represent our constituents, to the board of managers, to the administration, and we wanted to contribute to a robust dialogue around how all of our students are doing. Uh, because we want to make sure that the community, the appointed board, and the administration all prioritize our students. We want to empower and equip the board of managers by asking relevant questions about how the whole district is doing. We know every student can learn, and we want to ensure every student is empowered to reach their full potential. This is a small step in representing the vision and values of the community using the knowledge and skills we have built over the years of service as elected trustees. For those concerned about the Texas Open Meetings Act, this is not an official meeting of the Board of Trustees. We were stripped of our legal authority in 2023 and cannot conduct official district business, nor do we have the authority to request this meeting is posted on the HISD website. We simply want to make sure that our student-focused questions are heard. And now to progress monitoring. There is only one goal progress monitoring that is presented for October, which is GPM 3.2. So we'll spend our time with that. Does anybody want to volunteer to go first?
I'll go first.
Awesome.
Bridget Wade, and have a couple. I'll give some pluses. I think
Oh, and I did forget to do this view slideshow.
oh yeah,
And can y'all see this now?
not yet.
You can't view this. I should have done this before. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. Share my screen. One participant. Okay. There it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Okay. Ta-da. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that.
So I wanted to compliment the fact that I think that the way they're presenting the data is a little bit more thorough in the descriptions, and they're giving us a little more detail, a little more information, and I do appreciate that. I think this uh anyway, that was my positive comment about it. So yay. Um so my initial was obviously we're on track. Um and they've met let's go to the number 3 slide. Obviously, um the completer status on number 3. So obviously at the beginning of the year, data is in the achievement data and the target they're over the target. Um, what I was wondering, and maybe y'all can answer this for me, I don't know, is the end of the year to the beginning of the year. And I know we're looking at 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. So we've got graduate, if I'm correct? We've got graduating seniors who've moved on because this data reflects showing last year's data to this year's data. So we're bringing in essentially new ninth or 10th, 11th, and 12th graders that were ninth, correct? At the BOI. And so therefore the data shows a dip only because of the class change. So we'll know at the end of the year, obviously, if they've gone over that 41, which they've already met that. So if they're already at the 49 by the end of the year, then they've already overshot the whole entire goal. I'm not really asking a question, but am I correct in my
Yeah,
assessment?
that was my
They
understanding
did
as well.
already overshot it, which is
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with overshotting. That's a good thing.
yeah. I agree. I mean, we've done one of these before where it's like, well, is the goal set too low and should it be revised in terms of the percentage that it needs to increase by, or just is this a good goal to begin with?
Is this a good goal? Because the goal and overall, and right, this is just a progress measure, is so the goal overall is 20%, 20 to graduate, so it's from 11 to 26% of the graduates. So the, okay, so back to another point. And I'm just, this is more dialogue than questions. Um, when we don't know the data, and if I'm, please correct me if I'm wrong, on what the status is of participant explorer concentrator on slide 7, it shows you the different education, the technical education status. So what I would love to know more details about is where we are, say, in the explorer category, say for ninth graders. Where are we on that to hit those goal progress measures? Maybe going back to some data at the lower levels towards completion, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
the data, I would love more data on maybe say Explorer. Where are we in the Explorer category?
Yeah. For me, the one of the questions that I thought about when thinking about this, right? CTE is the career technical education. So like how does this pair up with how students are doing in terms of college readiness?
Mm.
Because they can intersect, but I think that for the most part they are separate routes. Um, and I know that that right the education in general is trying to intersect them more. And I was looking, so next month, I believe that they're going to be monitoring goal progress measure 3.3, which is the college credit. And
Mm-hmm.
how, so making sure that the CT is going up, but also college credit is going up, so that we make sure that we're not just gearing all of our students towards CTE without giving them the option of college readiness as well.
Okay, so can I ask another question real quick? I'm sorry, Sue, and then
Sure.
I'll, okay, so slide 12. So if I'm reading this correctly, and y'all can help me understand this too. So if we've got our 12th graders in 24, 23, 24, we're at 24 percentage points. Is it because they've started bulking this up and now more 11th graders are in the last 2 years, there was significant increase over those 12th graders who maybe didn't start into the really good CTE pattern earlier in their ninth grade year? Again, or 10th grade year or whatever. Does that,
I
is
had
that
a
make?
question about this too, because essentially the 11th graders here at 60% in
Mhm.
23 should be the 12th graders here in 24, 25, right? So if you have 60% completion for 11th graders, or I guess because the 12th graders only count if they're completed. But do you have some more insight on that, Sue?
I can't, I was having a little trouble tracking that because I'm also looking at slide, so slide 10. And
Okay.
I just, first of all, woohoo, end numbers.
Okay.
So there
Slide.
are end numbers here, but what
Yes.
I'm having trouble tracking, and so this is all kind of in that technical question bucket that we're all having here of just trying to understand what we're looking at, right? And
Mhm.
so there's some numbers and there's some percentages here of on track for each of these 3 school years by grade that don't line up to what is on slide 4. And I'm trying to digest why. I'm not saying I think there's an error here. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm comparing between these 2 slides. Because,
These numbers right here, this percentage.
yeah, so like
Doesn't-
look at the year. No, go back to the other slide.
Okay.
So if you look at 24, 25, which is what's in turquoise on the other screen, it
Mhm.
said that 24% of the 12th graders last year, 38% of the 12th graders this year, which is that bottom number 38 under
Yes.
right? Oh, okay, then it does track. Um,
Mhm.
but I had that same sort of thing, like what's happening in 12th grade this school year, because or the 24-25 school year, because that cohort of kiddos would have been in 11th grade in the 23-24 school year,
Right.
right? And so in the 23-24 school year, 60% of the 11th graders, why is it down to 38% senior year? Wouldn't those
That,
60% of the 11th graders still be on track?
well, that's what my question. That's why I was asking the question. I'm confused. I was confused.
Yeah, I'm having trouble figuring that out as well.
Um, Same. I love the end numbers. Love that they're here. Multiple end numbers. I love to see all of that information, but I
Mhm.
think that
Here's why the end numbers are important. So look at, um, so they're actually from the 22-23 school year, there were 14,829 10th graders.
Mhm.
There is, and they're now seniors, or in the 24-25 school year, they were seniors. There are what, about 2,700 fewer of them.
Well,
There,
that's what my question was. That maybe just the numbers, sheer numbers.
but the percentage has the percentage of 10th graders was 36%. The percentage of 12th graders was 38%. It's a higher percentage of fewer students.
Mhm.
yeah.
What happened to those, what is that? About 1,400, right? Am I doing my math right?
Seniors.
1,400. So it's 1,600 fewer students from who was in 10th grade 2 years ago to who was in 12th grade in 24-25.
Yeah.
And so this is why
Of
the end
enrollment.
number is
Yeah.
important, because the percentage went up, but there are fewer students.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and last year as 11th graders, there were actually more 11th graders last year. Oh,
Mm.
No.
no, this is 10th, yeah, more 11th graders last year. No, 2,000 fewer,
2,000 fewer.
Yeah.
2,700 fewer
Mhm.
11th graders last year, but more of them, right? So they were at 60%, so 7,200 of them. So it's like they went backwards this year. Do you see what do you see what I'm looking at?
Yeah, no, I see what you're looking at.
So how were more kids on track in 11th grade last year than in 12th grade this year? Like, and I think that's an important question for a board to understand. Is it we lost some students that were on track and we've gained new students senior year that weren't on track because of wherever they came to us from? And it's really hard for a district if they didn't do this stuff earlier in high school to
Yeah.
just magically get caught up their senior year. So I
Uh-huh.
would want to know what is happening in these, what's happening here.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. I think it's similar to what's going on up here, right? Where it's like, well,
Yeah.
at 60% of 11th graders meeting completer status, how do you only have 24% in 12 in or 38% for the
Yeah.
next year?
If you're just looking at that slide, an easy inference could be, oh, we've got a bunch of kids came to us senior year that we didn't have before, and or we lost a bunch of 11th graders to other places that were higher achieving, which very well likely might be the case, but it seems weird that kids are leaving for their senior year to go someplace else and to the
I agree.
Or maybe they got such great jobs they left high school because they have a
That's
CTE.
possible. Well, actually, if
I
you
mean,
look at the end numbers, there were 12,123 11th graders a year ago. And then last year there were actually more, not a lot more, but 83 more seniors.
yeah,
So that implies to me we got kids, not so much that we lost kids. So what's going on there that more 11th graders were on track last year than in that same cohort of kids met this milestone their senior year, unless there is just something about how they're measuring and monitoring this that we don't know and understand, which is also possible.
Yes. Great.
yes,
But still an important question to ask.
yes. So in the, okay, so let me go to slide. Okay, let's go to improvement strategy next steps, which is slide 6 or 14, however you want to look at that. GPM 3.2, the percent of 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students who are on track to achieve CTE completer status by graduation will increase from 34 to 49, blah, 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 28. So they're on track plus and then some at this point. So when we look at the previously communicated improvement strategies, what I'm wondering is if in this, with the increasing, it says increasing the student access to quality programs. So what identifies quality programs? Was it a state change? Was it a change in programming that this administration put in place that created this different high quality or different access? So that would be my question. Where did the district, what helped create these quality programs, or what increased the student access? How was that? And then it says strategic scheduling, which I know is one of the other things too, they said. And then on the improvement strategy next steps, there was one other question I had about that. CT courses sequence to support students by obtaining multiple. Okay, yeah. So to what you were saying, Donnie, earlier, about the course sequences that would support the college credit, and so we'll know that next month's data. We should know more about the multiple pathways, correct?
Yeah, so goal progress measure 3.3 is about students earning college credit.
Okay.
Yeah. Um
Y'all, I think I figured out an answer to the question.
Okay. Tell
So,
us.
so this is EOY to EOY. So spring
what slide are you on?
So I'm on slide 4. And
Okay.
this is comparing spring 24 to spring 25. And remember, we're, you know, in spring of 24, those kids are then, if they're a freshman in spring of 24, they're going to be a sophomore in spring of 25,
Mhm.
right?
Right. Right. That's
So go down to slide 9.
okay.
Right, because what I was trying to figure out is what do they mean by they're on track? And so, is it slide 9?
Where the definitions
Slide
are?
8. Slide 8.
Okay.
This is how they determine if they are on track for beginning of year, and then the next slide is determining if they've completed. So what they're considering on track for a younger student is fewer requirements than they consider on track for a senior or completed for a senior. And so what
Oh, I
it
see.
looks
Completer
like,
is the 3 course status to a concentrator of 2 course. Got it.
yeah.
So
So
here, there's a big percentage of students, 60 to 38, that were on track but didn't actually complete it by their senior year.
correct. And
So the
those
yeah.
two bar graphs, I think, are really important, just like the slide with the end numbers, right? You've got these juniors or kids that by their junior year are on track, but then they're
Mhm.
not actually meeting the requirement by the end of their senior year, which goes back to the actual the progress. This is what I was also having trouble reconciling. The progress measure is going from 34% to 49% of being in this completer status, um, and yet the goal has for only 26% of the students being TSI ready with an industry based certification. So they're increasing the percentage of students who are on track to have an industry based certification, but are they actually increasing, like, these 12th graders, are they actually getting an industry based certification? Like, it's like the 11th graders don't look like they're completing their industry based certification in 12th grade,
Mhm.
right? On slide 4, that's what
Yeah.
it looks like. And this is why this is so important to do between a board and a superintendent, because we just don't know, right? So we're the ones making an interpretation. A board should never make the interpretation. What would be helpful to a community on these is for there to be an explanation of why is the data, what is the story the data is actually telling us, right? We've got this met, but then all these separate slides with different pieces of data, and having an interpretation by the superintendent of what does this all mean. Does the, because otherwise we're just making our own interpretations, um, either as board members or community members with this. Um, and so I really want to know what's happening between 11th grade and 12th grade based on the couple slides
Mhm.
lifted up.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I would want to understand is if we're, already last year it was 42%. Well, 2 years ago, 42%, last year, 51%, which is already exceeding the 5-year target on this goal progress measure. Is this still predictive of the goal? especially if the seniors may not be, based on that slide we were just looking at, are seniors completing their IBC,
Yeah.
right? That's what's unknown from this, because
Yeah.
in maybe enough of them are completing the IBC and are TSI ready to meet this particular goal, which takes me then to a bigger concern. If this is their post-secondary readiness goal, what is the standard for the other 74% of our students? Wait, I'm not doing my math right. Yeah, I did. The other 74% of our graduates,
Yeah.
right? What
Mhm.
is the standard for them? It almost seems like this is more of a progress measure towards a bigger goal, but this is what this board chose, and this is how the superintendent is monitoring it. Would I be paying careful attention to in next year's goal report for the 26 graduates is, were there enough seniors that actually achieved completer status to meet the goal?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like there are, right? Like there were
Right.
38%. And that's what I'm inferring from these slides, that there was 38%. But then I'm like, why are so many 11th graders not completing it? What's going on? Like, is this we're just going to spend resources to overshoot on juniors so that we've got enough juniors, knowing that some are not going to complete by 12th grade. Are these 11th graders graduating from 12th grade going into college, 2-year or 4-year college? Are they graduating right into a job? Like, what are they going to the military? Like, what's happening to that delta of 30% between, really it's between the previous year's 11th graders to this last year's 12th graders. So
What's happening at senior year, right?
is
Yeah,
it
that was my question. Like, what are they doing? Sue, I agree with you. Like what, however, and we can, this again, to your point, Sue, these are questions we don't have answers to a lot, because next month we'll see, I guess, data that may offer some example of, or information as to why those seniors are going a different path. But to your point, when they get into junior year and they're deciding what they're going to do with their lives, maybe that's it. They decide, I really want to focus on my going to college or another pathway. And I just did this because I wanted to see what it was about. I'm just exploring it, or it's not, is it worth my time to do, because it's not, and it's not improving my opportunity to really get a job. Those are all questions, and they're not reflected in the data.
Another question that's not reflective in the data that I think would be interesting to know now that we're discussing this is how many of the 11th graders are already at completer status there? And what the delta is between the 11th and 12th graders who had completer status in the 11th grade, and then how many are actually reaching the completer status as seniors, right? So is it very similar, like they're in 11th grade and 90% of the students who reach it in 12th grade also reach it in 11th grade? Or is there a bigger delta that where students are actually hitting that completer status in their senior year?
one thing that I think is a positive is, if you look at slide 10, comparing the 3 years, and you just look at the seniors, and again, this is why the end number to me is so significant. Regardless of the percentage, there are more seniors achieving this completer status. Right?
Yes.
And there is a big leap
I see.
between 23-24 and 24-25.
Almost 2,000 kids.
Yeah, I mean, so what I want to know is what was done differently with that, especially since so they had a whole lot more. So that those 10th graders to 11th grade, a significant increase. Then it came back down. Was it just we're just going to cast a wider net with the juniors last year, and maybe so, and it yielded more kids graduating with this completer status. The percentages in some cases, let me look at this a little more carefully. Right, like the percentage of those 11th graders last year, not only was the number higher, but it was a significantly higher percentage, partially because more kids met the completer status, but also partially the percentage gets a boost
Mm-hmm.
by the fact that there are fewer juniors
Mm-hmm.
than there were sophomores
Year,
the previous
year prior. Yeah.
yeah. You know, but clearly they're doing some strategies that are working from a sustainability standpoint. The question becomes, you know, what is working towards getting those seniors to completer status?
Yeah.
Right? What are because those are the strategies they want to make sure that they're really investing in and protect that investment. And I think especially as we head in a couple years towards an elected board, really knowing and understanding this now, like, hey, we can have all kinds of feels about, you know, lots of stuff that's going on and having a board of managers and all of those things. But if there is something that is actually doing something good for kids, being able to identify what those specific strategies are so that future board can make sure they're working with that future superintendent to sustain those things is, you know, there's value for children in that or students in that. And also when you're having a district is, you know, at a future date having to make budgetary adjustments, you know, if there are things that they're doing that aren't getting kids to this milestone,
Mm-hmm.
being able to parse those two things apart is
Mm-hmm.
going to be important. Not just everything was bad or everything was good. And yeah.
I agree. I mean, I want to thank the administration for putting I think it's 3 different graphs on the end numbers. So
Yeah, it was great.
lovely. What I'm looking at right here, really quickly off topic, but on enrollment, so there was 12,123, and then for the seniors, 12,197. So essentially a few more seniors, which is an interesting choice. I mean, enrollment went up a little bit, right?
Enrollment went up a little bit. Are you looking at the BOI, the 12, slide 12?
So slide 10 is EOI, slide 12 is BOI.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So BOI for 25, 26.
Just
It
from
went,
here.
it
The
went down seniors, but it went down across all, right? Enrollment counts.
Yes, it went down overall, but the seniors actually went up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that means that's saying at the start of senior year, and it pretty closely matches. No, it is higher.
It is higher for the
It is
juniors
higher.
and the seniors
But the
and
reason,
the 10th grade.
and it
Yeah.
is a higher percentage because, again, there are fewer
For sure.
Students. Yeah.
students.
But look at, let me just go back. So 23 to 24, your senior number is not that different. And there were only 4,825 to now 7,606. So that's a big boost in a 2-year period around the same number of kids.
And we're seeing more 10th graders starting higher as well.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing I would want to know is on slide 13.
Oh, is there a slide
Some
13?
group,
Oh,
oh,
page,
sorry, slide
page,
5. Slide 5.
page.
Yeah,
This
Okay.
one?
page 13, slide 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Is some groups of, so Hispanic and white grew by 9 points,
They
followed by
all grew.
Black growing by 8 points. Yeah, they all grew. All
Mm-hmm.
students grew by 9 points. What's happening differently? Like, why did Asian, this is a similar thing that we're seeing to the other ones we've looked
Mhm.
at, where Asian and 2 races didn't grow by as much. What's going on in those populations of students that are resulting in those 2 groups not making as much growth? It doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong happening. It might be they're choosing different pathways. Um, who knows? But I think it's important to know and understand why.
I think it's also important to understand why the white uh, student population had a lower percentage to begin with, right?
Yep.
That's an interesting, um, I think that root cause of like why, um, right here, Black
Yeah.
students, Hispanic students had a higher level of completion than white students before these 2 years. Something to look into.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie, you were on the board when we were still getting these monitoring reports. I don't think, Bridget, you were there yet because it changed when we got new goals. And there used to be a slide when we were monitoring our CCMR goal and goal progress measures, because we were looking at the percentage of kids going, completing dual credit, the percentage of kids completing APIB, and the percentage of kids completing CTE. And at some point, slides started showing up in the deck by clusters of schools, right? These are the schools that have these percentages that are higher and lower in APIB. These are the high schools, higher and lower percentages of CTE, and then the third one for dual credit. And you could see there were certain schools like the Lamars and the Bel Airs that had the higher AB and AP and IB, and then other schools like Kashmir and Worthing that had higher CTE, and then another cluster that was sort of in the middle. And I'm just citing those as examples off of memory. And I always found it problematic that it felt like we're meeting this target for this overall goal, that as long as a kid had one of these 3 things, it counted in the goal, but it felt very inequitable to
For
me
sure.
that in certain schools you're more likely to do this and in other schools you're more likely to do this. Was it an opportunity gap? Was it counseling? Was it offerings? Was it something else? And my theory to your question about the white students here is they were probably at schools that weren't doing as much CTE. And now with the administration's requirement of more schools having more of these offerings.
Yeah.
But that leads to another question that I had, which is looking at their, where's the slide with the super response? So slide 6. I want to know I don't just want to know strategy and next steps. I want to know what story is the data telling the administration for them to determine that these are the next steps. I want to know previously communicated improvement strategies, which ones are yielding more of a result for which students, which are maybe not quite getting as much of a result, which maybe they all are. And then these next strategies, like investing in improving high wage, high demand CTE program and in deep industry analysis. When is this going to happen? Is this happening in every school? Does it need to happen in every school, or are there certain places where it needs to have, they need it more? That
Yeah.
implement foundational programs of study that is a previously communicated improvement strategy. Every school has to have certain things. Are kids actually enrolled in all of those things in those schools, or are there teachers that are hired for one kid? Could that one kid actually get that program someplace else, or are they just trying to meet a quota of students enrolled in these classes, and then they're dropping this track by their senior year? Looks great in junior year, looks great on the goal progress measure, but they're not actually achieving this outcome of completion. This output.
The other thing I remember really, really clearly, Sue, from when we were on the board, and I don't think that you were on the board yet, Bridget, but I remember the administration saying the principals get to apply for programs, CTE programs that they want at their campus. So there was no high level thinking strategy into what CTE programs are in each high school or middle school. They're just like, well, if the principal wants it and they apply for it, if they do the work, then they can, and then get accepted, right? They can have that program, which kind of made things inequitable in HISD in terms of what was offered and where it was offered. So yeah, and some type of improvement strategy. Next steps is like, is there a plan for the district in general, right? Instead of
Right. Is there overarching plan for all schools, all high schools across the district that are consistent pathways, consistent? Uh, well, we did talk about that a bit. We did talk about the problems with the programs that schools wanted, but there wasn't enough bandwidth for it or enough kids. Remember, we would go into those board discussions about it being a real problem. And it's this data actually highlights the fact that we do need, it's kind of like the curriculum. There was a wild west of curriculums, before everyone could kind of do what they wanted. And so it was you pick and choose. So it is nice to see that maybe there is going to be a more directed pathway for all the kids equally. Agree.
Bridget, I think both of you are raising an important point about consistency of opportunity in the district, right? And I think the system of choice in a really large district, we should be able to offer a portfolio of things within a region of the district, right? So if one kid at this school wants to do this thing, they don't have to go across town, but maybe the next school over has 20 kids that want to do that thing. Does it make more sense to send that kid to the other school, right? Um, and provide that opportunity and support for that student. Maybe not. But the bigger thing with, I think, what they're trying to accomplish with this foundation programs of study compared to the examples you guys are lifting up about what it was previously, is there was an interpretation by a previous administration, or possibly administrations plural, that a decentralized district or site based autonomy implied it's the Wild West,
Mm-hmm.
implied no operational expectations and oversight. And that's where I think our district really went sideways in,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we can't tell a school what to do. I'm like, you absolutely can have expectations. You can have goals and constraints on that school of, this is the expectation on this high school of how many students are going to graduate, college, career, military ready, by however we're going to measure it and how we're going to measure and monitor your progress. And if you're achieving these things within these constraints, then great, you get to be autonomous. And if you're not, well, then we're going to be more prescriptive on what you are doing. And we're going to be more prescriptive on your staffing and your programming and all of those things to make sure that you're meeting the needs of the students, because that actually is the district's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank
Mhm.
you, everyone. Any other
Thank you.
comments or questions?
I'm sure I could come up with more, but we're coming to the end
Yes.
of the hour, and this is
I
always
do.
fun.
I do want to mention, just because of what you were talking about, Sue, right now, when I was in high school, my high school didn't, NHISD did not offer sports. So I would drive myself to my local high school to participate in their sports. So it's kind of something similar to what you were discussing, right? I had needs of like wanting to be in a sport, but wanting to be at a certain high school. And so HISD just worked with me and was like, hey, instead of just taking a regular PE class, go to your local high school and you'll be able to have the best of both worlds, essentially, and have the curriculum that you want. So
Texas and other states do that with CTE between districts.
uh,
Instead of
Mhm.
every district offering all the same things because they can't afford to do that,
yeah.
okay, this district's going to offer this, and this district's going to offer this, and this district is going to offer that. And I don't know the exact details of how it works. I don't think it's that the kids are all going over to that other school every day of the week, but part of the week they're busing over there to do that CTE program. Other states do something similar. It happens, it's not uncommon in rural districts. We're big enough that it seems like you could do something like that within our district,
yeah.
especially if you have schools where students aren't signing up for one of these foundational CTE programs, or if they find that students are just kind of being encouraged to, sign up so that the school can meet a quota that's required by the administration, but then they're not actually completing it, but it looks good in this data on this report. Maybe not. We just don't really know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Dygard. Thank you, Trustee Wade, for being here tonight and sharing your questions and comments about progress monitoring. This recording is going to be posted on YouTube for everyone to watch. The YouTube channel is Progress Monitoring HISD, and our email address, if you want to send us any questions, is progressmonitoringhisd@gmail.com. And we encourage everyone to register to speak on their progress monitoring questions at the Board of Managers meetings, which is on Thursday, October 10th. And that's all we have for tonight. We will see you in November, which is November 4th, I believe. So good night, everyone. Thank you.
Night. Thanks.
Bridget. Good night, Donnie.
Good night.